All right, we are live. Sundays Media Football Show, week 2. I almost said week 3 there.
Not yet. Don't make it faster than it has to be.
Jerry, how are we doing?
I'm doing great. Doing better than you. I'll tell you that.
I would say that that's accurate.
Yeah.
Where do you want to start with today, Jerry?
Let's recap a little bit of last week. So it's week 1, and we don't want to be too early to overreact about everything, especially you, for example. Not to pile it on you so early, but you got a couple takeaways from week 1 looking at the scoreboard. Let me just pull that up real quick because I don't know it off the dome. But for starters, and I want to talk about this game today, the Dolphins need to blow up their entire franchise and start over. It is not great down in South Beach. It is, I think you're looking at the end of Mike McDaniel. I think you're looking at the end of Tua Tagovailoa, whatever.
I don't think you can say his name either.
And it's over. And Tyreek Hill is just not playing. Like, he doesn't want to be there. He needs to be off the field for other reasons as well. And it's just, I think that entire organization right now needs to look at themselves in the mirror and say it's time to rebuild.
I have said to people, I think that why everyone's calling me right now. My thought was, I said it last week, and so I had said last week after watching the Dolphins game, I said I think McDaniel's gone around Halloween.
That's early, but I could see it.
And I thought that exactly. I thought, like, after I'd said that, I kind of thought like, maybe not, maybe like Thanksgiving. But as ugly as everything looks, every story that's coming out of there, it just I think it might even be earlier than that at this point.
Could
it's
be.
just it's no one looks locked in. It looks like a mess, but like it's kind of the guy you hired, right? Like, you hired this guy that's, I mean, I don't know if I'm gonna jump all over him like Pete Prisco is saying, oh, he's only concerned about the music they play at practice. Like, no, I think McDaniel's locked in, and I think he was focused at one point, but when you kind of have a roster of guys like a Tyreek Hill and these me players, and you cater to them, and you really have no winning to back any of it, like to justify that.
You have, I think, two first round exits off the rip, and a reputation of the fact that you cannot play in cold weather.
Yeah, and I remember the story coming out, I think in Denver or whatever it was, which is wild because he was a ball boy in Denver. Like, he's been in cold weather, but I remember one of their games last year, there was like a story coming out from an anonymous player, which is pussy shit. Like, either drop your name in or shut the fuck up. But from an anonymous player that, like, they viewed him as weak because there was a game that they played in the cold weather and he was huddled up next to a heater at halftime and didn't say a word to the team. Just huddled up next to a heater. And like, I kind of do see that. Like, if that's what's actually happening, then yeah, you're weak and you're stupid for not planning ahead.
Yeah, you gotta be
putting on layers.
You wouldn't see Dan Campbell do that. You wouldn't see, see Mike Shanahan do that. That's not how it can be. I don't want to dwell on it too much. I do think Stevie Mack is very correct here. I think he is a forever offensive coordinator. I think he's very smart. I think he knows the game. I think he revolutionized how offense in the modern age is played. I think he's a big hand in that. I don't think this is the end of the road for him. I do think it's going to be a while before you see him as a head coach again after this inevitably comes to an end. But it's not, he'll have zero problem finding a job. Also, all right, so instead of just breaking down every single game last week, then breaking down all the games this week.
No, let's break down our shit. I mean, let's talk a little about the Jets. We'll talk a little about the Lions.
Yeah, I figured we can do that while we do the games. We probably should do this off air. But just real quick, looking at last week's scoreboard, you got the Dolphins, you got the Dolphins, the Saints, the Giants. Texans might be in a little bit of trouble. So mainly right now, the
You're talking about blowouts?
I'm talking about doo-doo teams. I'm talking about teams where it's just you could tell after week one that this is not going to go well unless they change up things majorly, and that's the Dolphins, the Saints, and the Giants. Giants might have a little bit of a quarterback controversy, so it's going to be interesting to see how all that plays out, but it's not going to matter because they do not have an offensive line. Big takeaways from last week are, at least in my opinion, is I promised myself I'm not going to overreact to the Colts. I think the Dolphins are just that bad. Buccaneers not surprised. There's really nothing. I guess the Packers, but we saw that Thursday. The Packers are going to run away with this thing. I think it's going to be you're in trouble. At least that division's in trouble.
Run away with it?
Yeah, I think the Packers are going to be the best team in the NFL this year. And then that all that being so, in regards to my next statement, we saw the best game, in my opinion, of the 21st century ever played. That was the Sunday Night Football game in Bills Ravens. Did you stay out to watch that comeback?
No.
Oh, dude. Oh my God, it was ridiculous. It was so. They were talking about it on part of my take where it's like, oh, the best football game I probably watched was either this or the Rams Chiefs Monday night shootout or Thursday night shootout, whatever it was, and that game was fun as hell, and there was 180 points scored or whatever it was, and it was unbelievable. But this game, this was a football game, just it was kind of like you watched Josh Allen carefully, plot every single move, and then the Ravens made just the tiniest mistake, and the Bills were able to capitalize on it. And I think that's at this point, I think you're going to see that matchup in the playoffs, and I think you're going to get a very similar game to what we saw on Sunday night, and I'm looking very much forward to it. Everyone's counting the Ravens out after all that stuff, and I think there's no reason to do that. I think they look great. Sure, they blew it, but Josh, I think the Bills are just that good, which, we'll have to deal with today, but
the Ravens are they're a great team, and they're by no means out of anything. But this ties in with the constant failures in January for them, and right, it's this is not the first time that the Ravens have blown a double-digit lead late in the game. They do this pretty frequently, and I don't know how far back this goes into Jim Harbaugh's tenure, but it's definitely another one of those Lamar complaints, and it's at times it's valid. I mean, you were up 40-10 in this game.
No, it was they were up by
40-20.
Yeah, I think yeah.
I mean, you're up 40-20 in the fourth quarter. There is no excuse to let that go. But I agree with you. I think we'll see them in the playoffs again. I think we'll see them playing in Buffalo again. I think the Bills should win the East. They should be a 1 or 2 seed. And I think the Ravens, as they always do, will have a tough enough schedule that's going to make them a 3 or 4 seed. Because I don't see anyone else winning that division. Maybe if the Bengals can block and play defense, maybe. But I don't see the Steelers winning that division. The Browns will not win that division. So that's kind of the way I see it shaking out. It's going to be a battle between the Chiefs and the Bills for that 1 seed again. And the Ravens will be, that 3 or 4. And as always, the Ravens will be on the road in the playoffs. And this is the year where they really need to shake off that stink, that playoff stink. And I think that's something we're going to be kind of watching for all year, where you look like a really good team, you look like a really competitive team, and then they line up against the Chiefs or the Bills in the playoffs, and they can't do it. And you had brought up the Packers. Packers spanked us. They beat us off the line of scrimmage. It wasn't a scheme win. It was a just straight up physical win. But same thing with the Packers. Not that they have as much of that playoff stink as I think the Ravens do. They're still a team that, going back to Rodgers, great regular season, and then they come out in the playoffs and they disappoint. And so that's going to be interesting to see this season.
You got to think though that I mean, maybe minus not maybe, but minus the Eagles. You got to think that the NFC, the road to the NFC, I feel like is pretty wide open. I think maybe you got the Bucks, you got the Eagles. Who else is going to really compete in January?
Oh, the NFC is far better than the AFC, and I don't think it's close.
Really?
I mean, just look at it, right?
And the AFC has the four best quarterbacks of the 2020s.
Sure, you're top heavy in the AFC, but then what do you have? In the NFC, you've got Philly and Washington. You've got Packers, Vikings, Lions. Any one of those teams could win the division. Any one of those teams could be a 2 seed, right? In the South, okay, you got the Buccaneers, and that's kind of it. Maybe the Falcons, and they're mediocre at best. In the West, you've got the Niners, Cardinals, Rams, like the Seahawks. The
Seahawks are dog shit.
Yeah, the Seahawks are dog shit. But the NFC is wide open in that sense, yeah. But the NFC is competitive. The NFC is going to be very competitive. The AFC, I think we could all predict now. A 1 and 2 could be interchangeable, and who 3. Who 3 will be. Who 4 will be, and who's ever the wild card. But I really wanted to touch on the Jets last week.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's just go into it. Yeah, let's go into it.
I think, just listening to WFAN around us, I think it was a crazy overreaction. I think what's his face? My God, the head coach was my DC. Aaron Glenn. I think Aaron Glenn did not coach a bad game. Okay, you gave up points. All right. You gave up points week 1 to a veteran quarterback
who was playing with hate in his heart. You're not gonna see that play from him throughout the rest of the season. I'm not gonna say that was a one-off, but he's not gonna look like that for the rest of the season. He was playing that game to prove a point.
But he didn't look that good in that game.
He had 4 touchdowns. He played well. You got to give him his flowers. I know you hate him. You got to give him his flowers.
In the red zone, maybe. But I don't think throughout that game he looked that good. I think it was a lot of miscommunication on the Jets defense. Mm-hmm. I don't think the Jets pass rush was what it should be. I think it was a lot of it was a week 1 miscommunication back there. And I think the Jets offense looked good. It looked very good. It looked like an offense that's going to help them win some games. I think if they can communicate a little better in the secondary, I think that's going to be a decent team. I'm not saying the Jets are a playoff team. I mean, maybe.
I think maybe
in the AFC, I think 9 wins will get you that 7th
I think we can sneak into that wild card.
Right. So everyone coming down on Aaron Glenn, that's not the worst first game to have. All right. Yeah, you thought you were going to win it. I think your kicker missed a field goal
in that game? Yes.
So
we missed we missed 2 2-pointers.
I don't think that was a bad game at all. I think that was a good building block.
You got to shout out the unsung heroes of that game and of the team for that matter. In a department where we've been lacking, and you can make the argument that was the problem for the past handful of years. Our offensive line looked stellar. And that's even with the absence of Elijah Vera Tucker. And I know, again, Facino hasn't been on a show the past couple of weeks. He'll be here eventually. I can't wait to talk to him about everything. He is under the impression that AVT, we got better without AVT. And based off of what I saw last Sunday, I'm inclined to now agree. The offense, minus TJ Watt had a nice pressure sack. I think Justin Fields may have fumbled. I don't remember. But other than that, they held them to what is arguably not arguably, but a solid enough defense to carry. The Steelers' defense is always kind of like what they have going for them. You got to think that was always kind of like their backbone of the team. I feel like, and we held them, and I want to see what we're going to be able to do today because the Bills' defense, watching that Sunday night game and then watching the Jets in the afternoon. The 2 of those defenses are insanely comparable. I think they're very much one and the same. And now the Bills have Oliver out. He's out, and I think because he's going to be out, I think we're going to see something very, very similar to what we saw last week. I think this is going to be a high-scoring game again. I'm excited, but again, like you said, the overreaction with New York talk radio and everything like that. We have to see. This is this is the prove it Sunday. If things go well today, we're going to be on the up.
Look at this. If I had read out this stat sheet to you offensively, I think you would have thought the Jets won the game. Justin Fields actually did not commit a turnover in this game. Justin Fields was 16 for 22, 218 yards, 1 touchdown in the air to Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson went 7 for 95, obviously in the touchdown. Mm-hmm. And Justin rushed for 48 yards on 12 carries. That's 4 a carry, and had 2 touchdowns. That's 3 touchdowns with no turn. Like I like to combine rushing touchdowns too. When it comes to a quarterback, right? Because and the same way I'll factor in fumbles with interceptions, right?
All purpose yards.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Right. So it's this guy had 3 he accounted for 3 touchdowns in the offense, did not turn the ball over. I think what you saw out of the Jets offense and what they wanted to do with Justin Fields is what we had heard was going to happen in Chicago for 3-4 years that he was there. And it was, it was like every year they would start the season with, we're going to make him a pocket passer. And, and that's just kind of not his game. And I wouldn't say he plays a lot of backyard football because that's Caleb Williams at this point from what we've seen. But like, it was drop back. If you have anything, take it. If you don't, boogie, get out of there. And that's his game. And that's where Justin Fields is his most dangerous. Once again, I didn't understand what I was hearing from Jets media or the New York media. I thought this was a fine week 1. Listen, if that's how I go down 34-32 with a rookie head coach.
Were they pissed? Were they like motherfucking them? What was going on?
Yeah. Oh, it was embarrassing. And what this is how, like, what's embarrassing? Okay, you gave up 34 points in week 1. All right. It should get better because we know this defense is better than what we saw.
Yeah, for sure.
So I would have higher hopes if I'm a Jet fan. This week is going to be really tough against the Bills, but the Jets are a team. If I could name any team that could start 0-2 and will make the playoffs or will have a shot, we'll be playing competitive football in December, I think it's the Jets.
Here's the thing, dude. Call me a delusional Jet fan if you want, because I am all in on that. I think I explained my case. I explained my case a couple times. I don't remember if I did on the show, but the Rangers have broken my heart too many times, and I'm just very realistic with them now and don't expect anything. So all my hopelessness fandom is going towards gangrene here. Josh Allen doesn't play well against the Jets. Out of the last 6 times he's played the Jets, I believe he's 500. I think the Jets have won 3, or at least at MetLife. Let me rephrase that. At MetLife. At the Ralph, he plays well. But at MetLife, he does not play well. So I think that we stand a chance here. I think we stand more of a chance than people think. And I know, watching all the betting shows that I've been watching, trying to gather information for my picks and everything for this weekend, everyone is really high on the 6.5. So I think I like that too. But again, Jerry fucking numbers over here looking at all the stats and everything. 6.5 did not cover last week. They did not win outright last week. You got the Giants. There's a couple other teams who had 6.5. They did not. It was all of them were blowouts. So looking at stats and numbers like that, I don't know how I feel about that. But just strictly based off of a fandom aspect of things, I like our chances. I'm not talking shit to any of my Buffalo friends because I like the Bills. I respect the Bills. I really shouldn't, and I hate that I do because they are a division rival. But I think this is going to be a better game than people are anticipating. And again, it goes down to what I said about the defense. The Buffalo defense did not look good. They gave up 40 points to the Ravens. Now, granted, the Ravens offense, Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, all that jazz, a lot different than Justin Fields, Breece Hall, and Braylon Allen. But, I don't know. We'll see. And like I said before, the Ed Oliver injury is going to really throw a wrench into things to the Buffalo defense.
Big. Yeah. That's big.
But it also comes down to we need our defense to show up. And like I said about the Steelers having the defense be the backbone of their team for how many years now, kind of the same thing with the Jets. The Jets were always a defensive first team. We always, loaded up on D. It was always that way. And now, there's no reason why we shouldn't be as good as we are. I forgot his name, but the cornerback opposite the Sauce, he is kind of a liability, but he's young, and Aaron Glenn still believes in him. I think he's playing. I think he's starting again today, but he did not play well on last Sunday. Sauce played great, but I mean, We'll see. They got to straighten things out. Will McDonald looked awesome again. If you want a nice little prop bet, you might want to take his over on sacks. Probably at a half. I don't know, or just take him for a sack for that matter. But I'm excited. I think I'm going to go to a bar and watch this game and sit in silence and just go fucking bananas and drink a pitcher of beer and 12 wings.
Good for you, Jerry. You deserve
I'm very excited. I'm very excited to get out of the house.
Another game that surprised me last week, Raiders Patriots. I really thought we were going to get a better game out of the Patriots. I thought that I had the Patriots winning that game. I was very surprised to see what we saw. However, same thing. It's week 1.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see what the Pats look like today. I think they're going down to Miami, and Miami is actually a favorite by 1.5.
Take the dog here. Don't look back.
Yeah,
that's my plan.
A home team always gets 1.5 as a whole, so it's basically a pick'em game. And I'm very surprised. I thought the Pats would still be favored here. The Giants looked ugly. It looked a lot worse than I think a lot of people had envisioned. 21-6. The Commanders didn't really put on a clinic against this Giants defense, but and I think this is statistically what's going to hurt this Giants defense is that they're going to be on the field a lot this year. They're going to be on the field most of the time, and I don't care who's on that defense. If it's Ray Lewis and Ed Reed, and you can name the greats. If you don't have an offense that can at least move the ball and kick field goals and punch it in every now and again, that defense is going to be tired, and it's going to give up points. It's going to give up big plays. That's going to happen because it's exhausting playing defense. It's far more exhausting playing defense than it is offense because offensively, you can control the pace of the game. You can control what you want to do and how you want to do it. And when you're playing an offense that's as potent as that Commanders offense, they've got 7 different ways to kill you. And like I said, when the ball's in their court, when they don't have to put Jaden Daniels in a situation where he's got to score right now and he can kind of figure things out a little bit, that's death by paper cut. And I think you're going to see a lot of that this season. I don't have high hopes for the Giants. I think Brian Daboll's going to be another guy that we're looking at Thanksgiving, Halloween, somewhere in between there, that might be losing his job. And if you're gonna do that, man, you better get rid of Shane too, because Shane has not given Brian Daboll a whole lot to work with. Brian Daboll should be better. What we saw in Buffalo all those years, like this is a guy that should be far better than he is. But he's
gotten too many chances here. Every single time through the Jones era, he made the playoffs that first year, and then after that, it was like, well, he has nothing. There's injuries. There's this, there's that. There's always been so many different excuses. It's like he's not Daniel Jones isn't his guy. He wait for him to get his guy, and like maybe Dart's his guy. But again, like you got to think how many chances is too many chances. I also think we're gonna see. I know they made a whole big to do for Russ to be their guy and everything. Like, Russ is a starter. There's no question about it. There's no doubt in my mind. There's a lot of doubt in everyone else's mind. What was the fans saying about this? They were probably fucking going on and on about this too.
I didn't see too much of. I was just kind of focusing in on what they were saying about the Jets because I vehemently disagreed with it. You know what, Jerry? My counter to you, and 9 times out of 10, I'd say you're right, and that he's been given too many chances. And how many excuses are we going to make for this guy? But how many coaches can you name in the NFL that would be able to make, as you say, chicken salad out of chicken shit here in New York with this Giants team? I mean, there's nothing, right? Like Joe Shane seems to be the guy that wanted to hitch the wagon to Daniel Jones. And looking back at that, I kind of understand why they did. They had too much success in 2022. They won a playoff game, and that put them too high up in the draft to really get a quarterback. So, okay, I get that. I get why they gave him that. But the debacle with Saquon Barkley last year, I don't know how many head coaches would have been able to have winning seasons here with this offensive line that they've got. The lack of, they have Malik Neighbors, but the lack of receiver depth that they've had, I mean, it's got disaster written all over it, and it's going to take a while to clean this up.
Neighbors is going. I mean, maybe not going full-time Terrell Owens diva wide receiver here, but he's fed up. You got to try to keep this guy happy. He's young, he's promising, and you're gonna drive this guy out of town.
I think that's probably the best thing for them if come next year they could move him for a first-round pick, because
trade him.
It goes back to my thoughts on the Lions re-signing Jameson Williams, in that that's a different scenario. But that Malik Neighbors guy is great, but if you don't have anyone that could get him the ball, if you don't have the line that could give that quarterback the time to get Malik the ball, then what are we doing here? What are we doing? It's the classic meme of the Lambo posted outside that piece of shit house. Right? Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Like, what are we doing with all of this talent? We're not going to be able to harness it. So it starts in the trenches. Okay. Games are won and lost. That the whole idea of defense wins championships is just such a lazy, old, shitty take. It's not defenses. Okay. Sometimes it's kickers. Sometimes it's punters. You need a great 49 guys that you are dressing that day to win the game. And it's not just on your defense. And the Giants are showing that, because the Giants defense is not a bad group.
Top 5 defense in the league.
Should be, but statistically it won't be, because they're going to be on the field the whole time. And I say the same about the Patriots here. If the Patriots offense can't get going, and once again, it's early, but if that Pats offense doesn't get going, it's going to be the same. It's going to be the same problem in New England, right? You need this game. The games are won and lost in the trenches. Specifically, that the 2 guards in your center, right? You need those great tackles on the outside, but you got to be able to win the interior game, because that's the quickest way to get to the quarterback. And we saw it 4:00 last week when the Lions went up to Green Bay, right? What did they do with Micah Parsons? They didn't line him up. I thought he'd be playing against Taylor Decker or Penei Sewell the whole time. He wasn't. They lined him up in the middle. They lined him up in the 3 technique. Hell, they lined him up at nose tackle over center, because the Lions were so weak there. And it gave Jared Goff no time to throw. It completely eliminated the run game. It handcuffed that Lions offense. And, I think the same thing there in Detroit. I think if they can't figure out that center position, because Graham Glasgow looked really ugly, they won't go anywhere this year. And I don't care if they've got St. Brown and Goff and Gibbs and Montgomery. You can name all these guys, and you saw it last week.
Yeah.
This is a Lions offense riddled with guys that are Pro Bowlers, and some of them all pros. And we didn't see it. Why didn't we see it? Because they couldn't block. Can we jump into the Lions a little bit here?
Yep, go for it.
I had said it. I had said it on the Sunny Days Detroit show, the post game. My thoughts here: Jameson signed that extension Saturday night. The news broke. He signed the extension. He's got 3 more years on top of the 2 he's got left on this deal, on the rookie deal. So he's here for 5 more years. I don't think he's going to be here for that. I think all that was a way of, them getting him on a manageable deal. And I think they're going to trade him. I think if Isaac Tesla, who made that beautiful one-handed catch in garbage time of the game last week, I think if they could get a deal with a team that's got a center or a guard that can play center somewhere in the interior of the offensive line, if they could get something like that, and maybe some draft capital, I don't know, for Jameson Williams, I think they're going to do it, because it just, to me, it wouldn't make sense having 3 great wide receivers and a great tight end if you can't get the ball to them. And there's only 5 draft picks next year for this Lions team. It's going to be really hard to rebuild that the interior of the O-line. It's going to be, and they need pass rushers too. So I think that in the end, that's what the Jameson deal is really about. It's about making that contract a little more attractive to a team that may be out of it this year, but is looking to reload for next year. And that's how I think this is going to go. Because if Isaac TeSlaa can do what Jameson Williams does, but he could do it on a 4th round salary, they're gonna roll with that guy. And it's very early on, but that's just kind of my thought. And I love JMO, and I think he's really important to this team. But I also think it's more important to give Jared Goff time. Jared is not a Lamar Jackson. He's not a Pat Mahomes. He's not a guy that's going to run for his life every down and chuck it down the field. That's not what Jared does.
No, he's a stone cold pocket passer.
Right. And he needs the time to throw. He's grown accustomed to that here. I mean, you see what Jared Goff can do when you give him 4 or 5 seconds to throw the ball. He's going to cut you up. And last week he didn't have that time. And listen, it's week 1. I'm really hoping things look better today. I really hope they simplify this offense a little bit. They kind of dumb things down. Not dumb things down, but I don't think you have to get as creative with guys in motion. I think you could win this game playing a little more straight up football, not so much trickery, but the interior of that line really concerns me.
Yeah, not who would have thought, but that losing Frank Ragnow that was massive. And then on top of that, though, like I understand you're picking apart everything with what you saw. I wouldn't beat yourself up too much about it because, like I said, I think the Packers are going to be, the Packers are a very good team. Look what they did to the Washington Commanders, who are supposed to also be a really good team. You ran into a juggernaut, for lack of a better term, on week 1, and you can't judge your team based off that. I think this is going to be a nice get-right game. I know you guys have a history against the Bears where you don't exactly play up to snuff in recent years, so we'll see what happens with that, but I think this is going to be a good time to straighten things out and fly right. Get the train back on the tracks. How do you feel about playing Ben Johnson?
I'm looking forward to it. He was talking a lot of shit going into the season, and it didn't look as bad, I think, as maybe some Bears fans. Same thing. I was listening to a lot of Bears fans. I was listening to the Barstool Chicago guys and their post game after the Bears lost Monday night. I don't think the Bears really looked that bad. I think Caleb Williams looked that bad. I think you saw a lot of backyard football, and the way that Ben Johnson likes to run his offense, it's a lot of 2 tight end sets. That's why you saw them draft Colton Loveland in the 1st round this year when they probably could have done something else. And everything is predicated on the quarterback having time, a heavy run game. And to DeAndre Swift's credit, he did look pretty good in that game, but everything's based off the run game. And that was kind of there. But I mean, these overthrows by Caleb Williams. And so I think they will move on from Caleb a lot quicker than we all thought. I think if they've got a 6-7 win kind of year, I think this is probably it for Caleb Williams. And if Caleb continues to look the way he looked last week, I think that this is it from him, because Ben Johnson knows these jobs aren't forever, right? Like as high up as they were about Ben Johnson when they hired him, they'll fire you just as quick. So it's kind of sink or swim here in the NFL. And I just, and listen, who knows what Caleb's going to look like today? I could be saying all this and he drops 3 on our defense. Yeah. But it looked ugly. I mean, that overthrow, DJ Moore down the sideline, wasn't even close. And you had a double-digit lead going into the 4th. You blew that. And credit to JJ McCarthy, because he played his ass off in that second half. He looked like Michigan JJ McCarthy, right? But
no, he's a gamer. He was flustered. They had him, like they were in his head. They had him going, and then he just took a deep breath and slung it. And let me say this though. Yeah. You mentioned that Caleb's time might be numbered here with Bagent waiting in the wings. You got a totally serviceable young quarterback who looked, I don't know how he's going to look in full, 100% real-time play, but, throughout training camp, throughout last year's Hard Knocks, throughout every time I've seen him in like preseason and whatnot, Tyson Bagent looks good, looks promising. We'll see. I mean, and
the talent is just like not as much as low as I am on Caleb Williams. Like you can't deny Caleb's talent, and like
Bagent, that's why you had to pick him 1-1. There was no question about it. You had to take the chance there. I think he's a douche. He's calmed down since he left college, which is good to see. But like, you can't fault the Bears for picking him. You had to. There was no choice.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't think they'll move to Bagent that quickly. And I think if you're doing that, if you're doing that to kind of light a fire under Caleb's ass, then you kind of got to do that early, because like if you do that too late and then you run out of time at the end of the season, now you're like kind of going back into next season with Caleb Williams. And if you do that, now you really like, if that doesn't look good, now not only does Caleb look bad, but you look like an incompetent organization that you have looked like. And so it is interesting, I guess, what they're going to do there. But, my hypothesis here is that I think they're moving on from Caleb after this year. And like I said, I could be saying all this with the Bears putting Caleb putting 3 on our defense today, but I don't know. It just didn't look good, and that's not how Ben Johnson runs his offense. But this was kind of expected, right? Did you think you were going to walk into Chicago and do everything you did in Detroit? Like you don't like they must have poured like $100 million into that offensive line this year going into the season, and it didn't look good last week. Really didn't look that good.
See, I felt the opposite. I thought in the first half, at least, I thought he looked better.
First half, it looked good.
Yeah,
first half, it looked good. And then it all came undone in the second half, and that's why we play 4 quarters, right? Like you don't just win at halftime, right? That O line's got to play the whole game, and the O line didn't look good. The center position, the center, I don't know who the center is there, but he looked lost. That guy looked lost. Guys were just breezing by him, getting to Caleb. So. I'm looking forward to this game. I'm looking forward to seeing Ben Johnson get booed today.
Yeah.
And I hope it gets in his head. I hope he tries to do too much. I hope it's just a jumbled mess. And the Lions got to get back on track and get a divisional win today.
Now, do you think that, not to harp here, but with Ben Johnson, do you think that a lot of his repertoire was like, kind of fuckery trick plays and whatnot, and the Bears just aren't at the level where they can perform that as competently as the Lions were able to, and that's kind of why, and that might be another reason why
it was predicated on the quarterback having time to throw.
Yeah,
I mean, everything that the Lions and like everything they did was based on they had 2 running backs that were going to give them 4 or 5 yards a carry every single time. And so defensively, how do you beat that? Right? You want to sell out and go against the run? Okay, play action. Jared Goff is going to kill you. Right. And okay, you want to drop everyone back. You think, you want to come out in the nickel. All right. We're going to throw David Montgomery on the field, and that bowling ball is just going to go through people and wear you down. And they had such a good kind of salt and pepper going on back there where Jameer would get a lot of those yards in the middle of the game and get the touchdowns. And then even if it was a 1-score game with 4 minutes left, it was I formation, David Montgomery, or come out in some sort of a power or a jumbo set. And we're going to load up the box here, and we're going to bet that our 5 is better than your 5. And Dave Montgomery's just going to wear you down. And that's how they won games last year. Any game that was like relatively close going into the 4th, it was hand the ball off to Dave Montgomery when that defense is exhausted. And he's just going to impose. They will just impose their will on you. And I don't think the Bears have that. DeAndre Swift is not that guy. And I mean, the Bears have a lot of good quality. They've gotten a lot better in terms of roster construction this year, but just to do what Ben Johnson did in Detroit is not going to happen until you have an offensive line that at least is in the top 10. At least is in the top 10. Until that happens, I just don't see how they're going to do what he wants to do. Because, like I said, it's all predicated on the play action game and 2 tight ends on the field, and once again, giving the quarterback time.
Yeah, We'll see. I'm surprised this game's at 1. I feel like this is a 4:00 game.
The other games in the 4:00 window, Well, I guess Panthers Cardinals has to be. That's in Arizona. Broncos Colts is a weird 4:00 game.
No, it's not, because everybody's high on the Everyone came into the season high on the Broncos, and they still kind of are, even after, I don't want to call it a stinker week 1, but not as good as a showing as everyone anticipated it being in week 1. And then, actually, where's their score today? Yeah,
they won last week.
Yeah, but it wasn't pretty, I guess, right? It was 20-12. And now the Colts are the darling here. And I think you want to talk about overreaction. I think they just played a shitty fucking Dolphins team and threw up 30. I understand DJ looked okay, but I don't know,
let's see what it looks like over the course of the season.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Giants fans, Giants fans are like looking at the sky like, why us? What, dude? And I think Russell Wilson would have walked into Indy and did what Daniel Jones did last week.
Yeah, and not to mention that was an emotional game. You guys lost your owner over the offseason, and not even over the offseason. Like literally, 2 months ago, 3 months ago, he just passed away. Yeah, so that was a very emotional game. They want to pay tribute to him. It was their home opener, so I'm not surprised about how that all worked out.
And how long do we think this whole owner, his daughter, wearing a headset on the sidelines to listen to the coaches, so she feels comfortable in who she's got? Like, what the hell do you know about play calling and personnel groupings, and what how much do you really know? Like, just in my opinion, then go up in a booth where no one can see you and wear that headset. Why are you on the sideline?
I don't know, dude. People are into it. People are like, people think it's cool, surprisingly.
No, man, that's not cool. And I can't imagine as a coach I'm okay with that. I don't want to be around. That's literally like your boss hanging over you, watching everything you do for 8 hours a day. Like, if you don't trust me, get rid of me. I'm here because you're supposed to trust me. If there's something I'm doing wrong, let me know. But let me do my fucking job. I think that's a major distraction. And it's her company. Do whatever you want. It's your company. But there's a reason that you have a failing company year after year after year after year after year. You constantly hire the wrong people. Like, focus on that. Focus on how we can bring in the right people to win games here. Don't put on a hat and walk around the fucking sideline with a fucking headset on. Like, that's just weird. That's so weird.
I don't know. I mean,
I think the Broncos going to beat the shit out of them today.
I would like to see that. I would definitely like to see that, just to send him back down to earth, because I am friends with a Colts fan, and he's kind of insufferable. Even when they're not good, he's still insufferable. The big game at 1:00 that I'm gonna have my eyes on, at least, is a Super Bowl rematch.
That's 4:00. That's what I thought you were
I'm sorry, I say 1:00. Yeah, 4:00. Yeah. 4:25. Eagles Chiefs. I think this is going to be a good game. Again, we're talking about overreactions, and I get it. Like, they won on Friday. No, they lost on Friday, but you can't judge. I wouldn't judge that game off your basis for what the Chiefs are going to do this year, because Brazil games are like, I'm okay with London games. I feel like the NFL has figured out the London game. It's at this point, it's whatever. It's part of the season. Everyone knows it's coming. You know how to prepare and do everything correctly with that. The fields are always usually in okay shape.
No, fields are in good shape over there.
Yeah, and you can couple that in with the Dublin game and the Germany game, because they're going to these well-equipped, well-upkept state soccer stadiums that are big time, and the travel is somewhat the same as far as the time difference and everything goes. But with Brazil, it's like going to the Wild West down there. You don't know what you're getting into, and that field is always dog shit. And then on top of that, you remember when they used to go to Mexico City? Remember when the Raiders played those games in Mexico City a couple times? Yes. How much of a fucking disaster that was. It's kind of along the same lines as these Brazil games. These Brazil games are never as good, and it's just it. I'm not gonna jump.
Jerry, you gotta carry this for a second here. I gotta go grab the dog.
Okay. Yeah. So I think a lot of people here are looking at the Kansas City Chiefs, saying they're done, they're washed, it's over, and I honestly don't think they could be even more wrong. The Eagles are good. They're the defending Super Bowl champs, and it is, you got to call it like you see it. They played, where are we? They played the Cowboys on the opener Thursday night, and they looked good, but so did the Cowboys. The Cowboys dropped 3 scores on them, and who knows what it would have been if it wasn't for that lightning delay in the middle of the game that kind of took everything, all the momentum out of the locker room there, and coming back ice cold and doing all that. Just we didn't get to see the full potential of that. Then after the lightning delay, it was just kind of game management to win the game, not so much play the game anymore, I felt like. I think they're going to be good. Saquon is doing Saquon things. Jalen Hurts does not look great to me. I do not, someone said it to me. I said it last week on the show. Jalen Hurts is a scramble drill quarterback where he kind of runs around like a chicken with his head cut off in the pocket, and you don't know what's going to happen. And I think the Chiefs' defensive front is going to be able to see that and take advantage of that. And I know, granted, you're going to say, well, Jerry, what about in the Super Bowl where they saw that and didn't take advantage of that and got their fucking ass kicked? Well, now you want to talk about playing with a chip in your shoulder like Aaron Rodgers was playing against the Jets last week. I think you're going to see the same thing. You're looking at Patrick Mahomes, who's a pro's pro. He's probably the best quarterback since Tom Brady to ever play in the NFL. And you're looking at Andy Reid, who is an all-time coach. And he's going to come in and say, all he has to say was, remember February 12th or whatever it was last year. And I think everyone on that Kansas City Chiefs team is going to come in and just play with reckless abandon. They want to win this game. They want to get their revenge on the Eagles, and they want to prove that, hey, we're still here. Do not count us out. We are still here. And I know now that everyone's pretty high and mighty on the AFC South. No. Yeah. Yeah, South. And like with that I don't know, whatever conference the Chiefs are in. It's either the South or the West. I think it's the South. And, with the Broncos and the Chargers, actually it might be the West now that I'm thinking of it, whatever. Regardless, that conference has beefed up in the offseason. People are high and mighty on the Raiders. People are high and mighty on the Chargers. People are high and mighty on who's the fourth team there? I'm sorry, people. This is great podcasting. I get the Texans. People aren't really high and mighty on the Texans, but the Chargers and the Raiders. People are liking the Chargers and the Raiders to do things this year and give the Chiefs a run for their money. Now, do I think they're going to get knocked down? Absolutely not. I think the Chiefs are going to win that conference. I don't, or division rather, and I don't think it's going to be close. I think we saw the Chargers can play, and I think everyone knows that. We saw that in Brazil, but again, it was a Brazil game, so I want to see what they're going to be able to do on Monday night. Who are they playing Monday? They're playing the Raiders. So another divisional game at 10 p.m. because I know we'll all be up watching that game. But I do think that I do think that the Chiefs are going to be able to win this division. And I think that anybody who's counting this team out after week 1 is stupid. I understand they got their ass kicked in the Super Bowl, but just wait and see. I know that Xavier Worthy separated the shoulder. He's going to be out. He's out this week for sure. It's only a separated shoulder. He'll probably be back next week. I don't know what his capacity is going to be. That does throw a wrinkle in things, but you still have Pacheco. You have Kelsey, so you can sit there and wait for Kelsey to open up the floodgates a little bit. I think if he knows that he has to step up, he will step up. Hollywood Brown still kind of stinks. You can't really trust him, and I think they have another young receiver who was waiting for their turn. I don't remember his name, but it's Patrick Mahomes, and I know. Pat said it before, my favorite saying in the world, Patrick Mahomes is the king of making chicken salad out of chicken shit. He can extend plays. He could do it with his legs. He could do it with his arms, and he could do it with both of those limbs and in ways that we've never seen before and we'll never see again. So I think this is going to be a great game. I also thought the Packers-Lions is going to be a great game in that window last week, and it wasn't really, but I think we're in store for a good one. What division are the Chiefs in? Is it the West or the South?
West. At AFC West.
All right, there we go. Sorry, folks.
Yes. All right, Jerry. We're coming up on 11 here. We got anything else?
No, I'm good. My picks for today. I got a 3-pick that I kind of like a lot. I have the Steelers, the Bengals, and the Patriots. I think that's a solid 3-pick play. They're all at 1:00, and just straight up on the money line, I think the odds come out to like 410. If you boost it, it goes up to 600. So $5 went to 35.
Who?
Steelers, Bengals, and Patriots.
Bengals and Patriots, and the Bengals have the Jags. Yeah, I think I like that too. I think I might ride that with you.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the best. And then, like I was saying before, what you were doing, whatever with Draco, I'm high on the Chiefs. I think everyone's out here counting out the Chiefs just like they're counting out the Ravens, and I think they're going to come into this game and play with reckless abandon and get revenge. Like I said before, with Aaron Rodgers playing with hate in his heart for the New York Jets, I think the Chiefs as a whole are going to come into this game against the Eagles with hate in their heart and a chip on their shoulder, and they're going to ball the fuck out.
It was Thursday night. It was week 1, but I thought the Eagles looked pretty human. They looked good,
100%.
but they looked human. And you know, I think I'm with you. I think I'm taking the Chiefs here.
He's getting points at home. That's huge. He's a home dog. You're stupid not to take it. Plus, I just saw a statistic. 75% of the bets are on Eagles -1.5. So bet with Vegas here. The books know, and they don't want to lose. That's what I think, at least.
Well, then that means that you would take the Eagles.
No, you're betting with Vegas. You're not betting with the people. Vegas wants the Chiefs to win because everyone's betting the Eagles.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think if you want to get creative with this game, on whatever you're using, DraftKings, FanDuel, I would take an alternate spread. If you really believe the Chiefs are winning this game, I think you instead of that +1.5, I think you take them straight up at -2.5, -6.5, something like that. If you really think they're winning this game straight up, you'll get great odds for yourself and you'll cash out, and you can carry that into next week.
I do like that. And that's a little reverse spread. That's not a bad.
That's what I do. I mean, if I really believe something, if I really think something's going to happen, like for example, today, the Patriots are +1.5 in Miami, right? If you really think the Patriots are winning this game, you're not taking them at +1.5. If you think they're winning, you're going to, and +1.5 is like a garbage. I think it's a garbage spread to take.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you either buy yourself more points or you buy more of a deficit here. And I think I would take the Patriots at -2.5 today, which I think they'll win by more than that. And maybe I would buy you want to parlay that with the over-under. I think you buy some points. The over-under right now is 42.5. I think you buy it up to like 45.5 and take the under.
And on the topic of unders, people are liking the Steelers-Seahawks under just because the Seahawks are dog shit and can't get anything going offensively. We're seeing Sam Darnold play like Sam Darnold again with Kevin O'Connell not there to save him. And then, I don't think Rodgers is going to put up another 40 spot.
All right. Let me get upstairs because the baby's crying. I think mommy's had enough. All right. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in, and we will see you all next week. Let's go live.
Yes, folks, we're going back to Saturday night. Don't get used to the Sunday mornings. We'll see you next week.
Go Jets.
Yes.